after the initial attempt at promoting his book and sticking with the story that he told in the proffer agreement, what do you think that made Kefee D keep speaking out and keep doing interviews? Was it money? Was it ego? Was it guilt? Or was it that he just didn't care? Let's get into some of the straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like some cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. It's very much appreciated. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, when you think about this Tupac situation involving Kefee D, you have to ask yourself a few questions, just as a human being, right? First off, basically, when you think about the situation that Kefee D was involved in, getting caught up for selling drugs, PCP, all of those things or whatever, and having the opportunity for what they were initially investigating him for, which was the Biggie situation, right? And him ultimately coming out and confessing to the situation with Tupac. Being offered a deal, not a deal of immunity. A lot of people got that mistaken. He didn't get immunity. He just got a proffer agreement. And so being offered a proffer agreement, right? Doing a little bit of time or whatever for whatever, and then being able to not be charged with the Tupac murder, and essentially be let go scot-free for that situation. Now, most people would have understood how lucky they were at that particular time and taken that and basically faded away, especially from a situation dealing with the high profile nature of the Tupac situation, right? But it begs me to question what was going through Kefee D's mind. I understand the aspect of writing the book and in writing the book, trying to create or feeling like in writing the book, he could create some kind of self-defense motive, if you will, involving Tupac. And so you got to understand, that's why I understand why he wrote the book and then would come out and say, well, you know, Tupac was reaching for a gun. You know, that justification would fly with most people, but most intelligent people wouldn't believe that, if you will. Okay, he promoted the book. After that, you could kind of see that nobody else or no other media outlets were biting for an interview. You know, when people usually do book tours, nobody else was biting. Basically, he was self-published, if you will. So, you know, book sales, you know, the availability of the book, other than being like on Amazon or whatever, you know, wasn't, you know, that widespread, the publicity behind it. I believe he has an audio book and so on and so forth, right? So now, that part of it, I understand. Trying to capitalize off the moment by telling what his side of the story, not the truth, his side of the story that he wanted people to understand and hear. But anything after that, because as you can see, when he came out and did the, you know, promoted the book, nothing really happened. And the reason why nothing really happened was because he tried to offer up this self-defense claim. And he basically stated the same thing in the book that he had stated to Greg Kading them when he was talking. in regards to that, Tupac reaching for a gun. So he had to roll with that narrative. I understand that part. But anything else after that, I can't understand. And I can't help but think, was it the guilt? Because, I guess if you've never been involved with a situation like the situation that Kefee D involved himself in regarding the shooting and the murder of Tupac, the nightmares, the guilt, the shame, because you're not just dealing with somebody in the neighborhood, a rival gang member, if you will, somebody, you have beef with. You're dealing with Tupac Shakur, an international rap superstar. Somebody who every day is in the news in some way, shape, or form on the internet. People are talking about, people are chatting about how much they miss him, how much they love his music. And on top of that, like I said, the music in itself is eternal, And so I can't help but think, was it guilt? Was it guilt that ultimately made Kefee D keep speaking out? Because at that particular point, I mean, from what I understand and see, nobody was really buying the book. I understand the monetary aspect of it too, but for the money that, I would think that he was making on various platforms, I mean, we see now that he can't even afford a lawyer. So it couldn't have been that lucrative. You would think he would made more money from the book than anything, if people were interested in his story, right? Not the truth, but his story. And so I asked, could it be guilt? Because most people would think that, man, he must have, a prison wish, if you will. I wouldn't say a death wish, but a prison wish, meaning, he wants to go to jail. He keeps talking about it. He keeps bragging about it. And it's like, because at that point, there was no really more promotion of the book, if you will. He was just going on, platforms and just answering questions, if you will. It was never, here's the book, buy it, so on and so forth. So I can only think or surmise the fact that he felt guilty. I wonder, if he had nightmares, you know what I mean? In regards to the situation with Tupac and, being there, being in the car, seeing that replay over and over and over again. Those type of visuals, for the most people who've never seen anything like that or witnessed anything like that, you can only imagine the nightmares from that perspective. Tupac's spirit, just haunting, whoever, whatever. And, and a lot of people don't really, think that that's possible, but it is. And so now we have a guy in Kefee D who just kept talking and talking. Every question he basically, answered, that he was asked. And, sometimes, when he answered the question, it was in a braggadocious manner. Like he felt no remorse, And so I can only think that, was it guilt? Was his ego? Is there something that we're missing psychologically involving, who he is as an individual? Because you give, I would say, 90% of the people the chance that you gave him and the opportunity to be able to get away with the murder of one of the most high-profile entertainers ever to live. And he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He couldn't keep his mouth shut. And so I've been, pondering on that. I'm like, wow, what would make this guy keep on talking? Because the money, like you see that he can't afford a lawyer. He hasn't even had a bail hearing. Based on the fact that the delay to find a suitable attorney, has been lengthy, if you will. So, he hasn't even had a bail hearing. And we seen just last week, he can't afford a lawyer. So it couldn't have been money that made him speak out, because evidently he doesn't have any from that perspective. From that perspective alone, as far as an attorney. So yeah, I wanted to, and I know some of you guys probably been thinking the same thing. Like, what was the catalyst to make him keep talking? So, chime in the comments. Let's have a dialogue about this in the comments. Help me understand, because me personally, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I know, when I received a blessing, or when I received a second chance, or, all of these things. And to be perfectly honest, it really wasn't a second chance, because, Kefee D had been to prison before, And so with that being said, that's the reason why I say, he's comfortable in the situation that he's in. Like, most people who go to prison, it's like, hey man, I fucked up, I messed up, I'm gonna get my life together, and I'm never coming back here again. I miss my family, I miss my kids, I miss my wife, I miss all of those things. And so the fact that Kefee D had all of those things, family and things like that, you would think that he could look at his immediate situation and say, you know what, I'm a blessed man, and not say anything, and just, keep his mouth shut, perhaps get a job and kind of just fade away, So help me unravel this, if you will. You know what I mean? Chime in the comments. Tell me, what do you think? I ultimately think it was guilt. I ultimately think it was shame. I think it was ego. I think that he misunderstood not only his proffer agreement, but the circumstances in which he could speak under, and being able to keep his story consistent, with the proffer agreement. Like I said, the first time he came out on Vlad, his story was kind of consistent with what he said in the proffer agreement. Tupac reached for a gun, blah, 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 which we all know that wasn't true from that perspective, but that's the story that he was running with at that time. Then after that, it was, I handed, this person a gun, we went looking for him, all of these other things, and, what you do afterwards, and, and just kind of like letting his ego take over, but then, like I said, some of that is guilt, some of that is shame, some of that is just straight out, not thinking, from my perspective. But like I said, guys, chime in and tell me what you think. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.